And in
3, 2, 1. Well, hello
I'll
there.
try not to talk about you.
There we go. 3, 2, 1. Well, hello there, Kansas City. Stephen St. John here with another episode of Hot Mic with SSJ. I want to start by thanking our good friend, Patrick Carter of Farmers Insurance. Choose a local agent that keeps your premiums in the Kansas City community. Go to kcfarmersagent.com, click Contact Me to request a quote, or you can text HOTMIC, HOTMIC, to the number 913-248-8861. That's HOTMIC to the number 913-248-8861. And as always, just check out kcfarmersagent.com. Okay, so this is the part 2 of our sit-down with Jake Gutierrez and Todd Lebo. As you can see,
Really
Todd...
part 4, part whatever. I don't
Todd
know.
has been in close contact with, do you want to, or just whatever.
You know, with his,
Point
you
is,
don't want me around.
I've taken this shield and I've shielded myself from Todd. We believe this to be absolutely not effective whatsoever, but I like the idea of a shield being there between me and Todd. And
Put
so
your hand up here, like we're in prison.
Later on, yes, right. No, I'm used to this. I'll say this.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking to my dad now. Hi, Dad. How are you?
Can I pass you something under here?
No, but later on, I will bare my bosom
let
and
me,
place my
get this
breast
outta
up
here.
against the window and say, "Oh, Billy." So
that's how we're starting.
right.
Well-
You know, there was only one place that had a window between
Give me
my
the
dad and I. Usually they let us.
Elliot.
Like I'd go to Rochester or Leavenworth or whatever, and they'd have a nice area where we'd
Open
sit
area.
down.
You sit down.
They'd have vending machines. Leavenworth had an outdoor picnic area.
Nice.
You could get White Castle hamburgers in the machine, heat them up, walk around.
Yeah.
So I never.
fresh.
I only had one place where I went to visit him where I was on the phone and
pick up
everything
the
else.
phone, yeah.
And like it wasn't Midnight Express, but then I started to act out a scene from a movie, and my dad got mad. He goes, "You think everything's a fucking joke?" I said,
Yes.
"Yes, I did."
Yeah.
So,
Do you know? Yeah.
right.
Dun,
Well,
dun, 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 dun,
right.
dun,
There
dun.
it is. So here we are, and before we get started on this topic that we left the last episode on, I just wanted to give Jake the opportunity. Have you had a chance to reconsider or rethink your stance on either the Titanic or Paul McCartney not being alive? So did you guys go back and watch the last episode?
I did not
Yes,
watch it.
I did.
Yeah, for sure.
I watched it with my wife.
Watched it a
There was a
couple
lot of
times.
things I missed. I thought it was pretty funny, but so there were some things maybe you were on the fence about. You've had a week to reconsider things. Do you still maintain that the Titanic never sank and the original Paul McCartney died in a car wreck in 1966?
Let's see. Titanic for sure. I believe all that.
So that's
that's a conspiracy
That's your
theory.
stance, and you're not okay.
I'm buying in.
You're not budging. Okay.
That ship at the bottom of the North Atlantic. That's
Fair enough.
That's the Olympic.
Fair enough.
And Paul McCartney. You know, I kind of played it up a little bit to mess with Todd. I don't say he's dead, but he might not be alive.
You're on the fence on that.
Yeah, I mean,
You listen to both sides of the argument,
Yeah.
but you haven't made a decision.
Yeah, I
on
mean,
that.
look, it all started to piss off Nate, and then and then I started
Right.
doing some more investigating. And look, I think there's a good chance he is dead. I mean, it makes sense.
What's
to
a
me.
good chance?
But it's
Like 25%.
it's worth more of your time, you said, to further. And what I'd ask you to do, not today, but if you would for a future episode, would you investigate that more and come armed with a little bit more information? Because
If I
Todd
can
is
find,
just
if I
not
can find
listening
some
to
more,
it.
nah, I get it. In 25 might be a little high just to make you mad, but
I watched the YouTube documentary part of it. I got about halfway
What'd
into
you
the
think?
thing. I thought it was, well,
Was it eye opening at all? For
no.
you?
It wasn't because they kept flashing these pictures like this is Paul McCartney then and now or
Right.
whatever, and
Push
they were
pause.
quick. They were quick. They didn't
What
they
do you-
didn't go
what
like
do you need?
push
here's
pause. You gotta
push pause. If you're gonna try to prove something to me, don't just fucking click through them.
But you didn't go through the whole
And
thing.
then-
They go tighter and they do more
Jake
logistics.
certainly embellished the part where the hitchhiker, because in the documentary they're like the
Yes,
hitchhiker
really?
was like, oh my gosh, it's Paul McCartney, and then you got on Jake's like,
Right.
hey,
I
you
just
know what
wanted to know
hitchhiker-
who said.
Anyway,
right,
and then
okay.
when they got into like today's climate and politics, I was like, I don't think this has to do with
Okay,
1966.
all right.
So I hit pause, I checked out, and I'm
That's
done
fine.
with that.
Yeah, I get it.
I gave it 22 minutes
That's
or
a lot of
something.
time.
Okay,
I
so I
respect
just-
that.
That's all I had for you.
So the
Yeah.
Titanic, you still yes, Paul McCartney maybe, and then of course finally, the magic question that everyone wants me to ask: have you decided to drink your own urine?
I mean, I'm going to. I just haven't yet.
So you are going to.
Yeah,
that's a done deal.
I mean, I'm like, there'd have to be something dramatic happen for me not to.
Well, I mean, what kind of
get real sick or something?
And so you've decided
you'd want to drink it then to get well.
Maybe. I mean,
but why haven't you then? If you've already made the decision, then why haven't you started?
Because I haven't. So I don't know what the. Okay, so I know you drink your first pee in the morning.
Right. Sure.
I haven't got the system down yet. Right. I don't.
Well, you know where it comes from. You know where the
right.
Seems like a rather.
Like how
system.
Much do I need to drink? Do I drink
whole thing,
like
all of it?
Do I just need to drink like 3 ounces of it? Do I need to drink a whole jar of it? So you know.
You know, if you do it right, you can have a nice frothy glass of it. Looks like a beer, a little bit of that foam on top.
Yeah, a little bit.
Blow the foam off like a beer.
Jesus Christ.
Why do you have your hands over your eyes?
You're comparing my
I want
piss
you to
to
imagine them drinking a nice
beer.
frothy mug
of piss.
like an old style root beer with a.
You get one of those A&Ws and put it in the freezer.
I want you to get someone to get the mug and slide it down the table at you.
Spill a little bit over.
Like Cheers. Norm.
Jake.
What was that?
Give me the usual.
What was the video game when you were the bartender with the mustache and you have to catch the beer when it's sliding down the table?
Oh shit!
Beer time or something.
Burger time was when we made the burgers.
Burger.
Yeah,
that's great.
There was one of those things.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, but I like
Commodore.
Whatever it was, I'd like you to do that. I'd like you to reenact that with
the
a handlebar mustache.
Yeah,
the guy at the thing you were at didn't say. He didn't give you any details. He just says he's
so
looping.
I know some people that do it, so I need to reach out to them and get.
Where'd you meet these people?
Don't worry about it.
At the pee-pee place.
Tinkle time.
They're my internet friends.
What do you call?
Oh,
so what do you call it?
kidding.
Do you call it urine, pee-pee, piss? I mean,
It's looping.
It's called looping, and
Right.
it's called urine therapy.
wasn't there a movie about Bruce Willis and looping and?
That's Looper.
Oh,
that was
okay.
a time travel
Is that
thing.
about
That's
him
probably-
drinking his own
That's how he
piss?
travels through time.
Does he go back in time to drink his own pee?
He drinks his pee first thing every morning. He starts traveling.
Looking for Paul McCartney.
Well, that's a treatment for a movie I would certainly
put
watch.
together.
Okay, now one more thing before we get into this,
Okay.
because we do talk about TV from time to time.
Yes, we do.
What show returning? And I know you're behind, but
Yeah.
and I'll ask you this too: what show returning this weekend are you more excited about? So we're recording this on Thursday, the 20th. Tomorrow is the return of Ozark. It's part 1 of season 4. Season 4 is going to be broken up into 2 parts, and that's it. And so tomorrow is Ozark on Netflix. Sunday is the return of Billions, but without Bobby Axelrod, because the actor Damian Lewis, if you don't know,
I get why he's out.
he was married to Helen McCrory, who played Polly. Wonderful job playing Polly on Peaky Blinders. She passed away after a lengthy battle with cancer, and Damian Lewis said, I'm taking a break from acting, taking a break from Hollywood. I'm going back to England, and I'm going to spend time with my family. And who could blame him for that? But so now the show moves on, at least now for this season, with no Bobby
like the guy.
Axelrod.
The guy is I forget the guy's name. Who's
Corey.
playing, he's been in a lot of good things. He's in
everything.
House
He's
of
fantastic.
Cards. He was I like him, but I'll be more excited about Ozark.
Okay.
I'll watch those.
Ozark.
Okay,
Ozark. I'm caught up on Ozark. I'm about season and a half. I haven't picked up since when they stopped it, the first 7 before the pandemic hit.
Okay.
I haven't gone back and caught up yet.
Michael Prince.
Should I answer this spam risk live?
No, absolutely.
From
Dude,
Henning,
do
Tennessee?
it. Do it. Speakerphone.
What is it?
Yeah, what you got? Hello? Hello?
Yes, my name is Lloyd Webb. I'm calling behalf of Spectrum on a recorded line. This is Todd.
It's a Tud.
The reason for my call, we just want to thank you for being a Spectrum customer. And
I'm not. I don't want to do
Sexual
no more of that.
customer. What is
No,
No.
ask him. Hey, why do you think he's a customer?
Actually, I am.
Oh.
Because we're actually offering you a free week of our choice streaming service with our
Yeah.
Spectrum app
Free choice?
for internet customers.
Hey, man, we really
I can't do
appreciate
it.
you today. I hope you have an awesome day, man.
I can't do it now, though. I'm in the middle of something important.
God bless
We're
you.
talking about drinking urine.
Right.
Bye-bye.
So was that spam?
It was spam. I mean, it's a Spectrum thing, but
You
I
just
don't
lost
want
out on a free week.
Yeah.
You
What?
dumbass.
I have
That's
stuff.
something. Well, you don't know because you hung up on him.
That's awesome.
I was going to ask him where you're going to live.
I wish you would. I
Tennessee.
wish you handled that a little better. I wish you just let me handle it.
So
I'm not having you handle any.
So then the other question about, because I'm always interested to see how people consume these shows. I have very little self-control. Like, so for HBO right now, we're watching The Righteous Gemstones, which, if you want to laugh, Righteous Gemstones is hilarious, and I love it. And they also have Euphoria. But
that's not a funny.
No, it's not funny. You will not.
It's not a
laugh.
funny.
And let me tell you something. If you have kids, especially if you have daughters, I have daughters that turn 13 tomorrow. Euphoria makes you want to put your head through a brick wall continuously, and so. But an episode comes out once a week, so it keeps you from binge watching. With Ozark on Netflix, I have no self-control, and I tell myself I'll watch one episode every other day.
You'll be done with this by
I'll stay up
Saturday.
until 5 or 6 in the morning and watch it all. Do you will you binge watch Ozark, or will you give yourself just one episode a week? How will you
take me
consume
probably
Ozark?
2 weeks.
It's tough, man, for me to say no when I can watch an episode.
I mean, I won't
have
watch
no
much
self-control.
this weekend, obviously, because we have football on.
Chiefs.
But during the week, there's not as much going on.
Will you binge, Jake? Or
No,
will you...
I mean, I'll binge the Gemstones this weekend. That's my goal. I'm going to watch all 4 of those.
And you
episodes
should.
over the weekend.
And I've told you both.
And I'll probably catch one of the first Ozark.
There's a cool 4-part thing on HBO called The Landscapers. It's a true crime deal about a real case that happened in England in recent years, and it's very interesting. It's very well acted, and it's very interesting the way they presented it. And I finished it last night. It's very cool.
I'll watch that.
And it's only 4 parts, so it's not like
Landscaper.
it's not a really long thing that you have to big commitment to. But it's a true crime thing that I'd never heard about the case, but it's very interesting. It's good.
Okay, so now we're going to get into what our cliffhanger from the last episode, and this could be some heavy shit. And so, Todd, you usually are the resident skeptic, but you've said you were going to be a kinder skeptic and listen and just ask questions. And if you don't believe something, you'll say it, but you'll be more inquisitive.
Well, sure. This, for me, where we were last week on this, this isn't, if Jake or you or whatever have had a real life experience, that's different than believing Paul McCartney.
But you seem to be, you still have, you seem to be irritated and angered by his assertion that Paul McCartney died in '66. That rubbed you the wrong way. You
all
didn't
the
like
crazy
that.
shit he said
Right.
on these podcasts.
Sure.
That one's the one that's
That didn't sit well with you.
Sticks in his craw. Well, I mean,
well, it's because he's still out there.
where you're coming from, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that was a conspiracy theory. This is a philosophy theory.
Well, or it's whatever you have been going through in your life, and if you,
It's a
I'm not going
spiritual,
to tell you that you're
philosophical.
wrong about something that
Sure.
that you say you've had happen to you. I can't tell you that.
What I'm going
I
to
can
say.
pretty much. I'm like 100% that Paul McCartney didn't die.
Okay, I get that. I get that. I get
Okay.
that.
You've got to let go of that. But how can you be 100%? You don't know. You haven't been around him. How do you know that's not a guy that?
Well, how
is
do I
now-
know you're not you?
You don't. You can't be 100% any of
Well,
that.
I'll be
You don't know?
99.9
Okay, then.
to the however many
there's a margin of error in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start off.
How many nines you got?
899.
Yeah.
Okay, so here are some of the things that I will share with you, and then or do you want to talk about your philosophy first?
Well, tell us about what the densities are.
Okay.
'Cause
So
that's what this
7
started with.
densities, right?
Yeah, right. So,
Okay.
And so first off,
This is a theory. This is a thing. I mean, this isn't something we learned at school.
No,
obviously.
no,
This
no,
is
no,
not
it's-
physics or science
so-
or whatever. It's
it's basically like the evolution of incarnation, right? And reincarnation.
When did you first become aware of this?
So in 2000, I was in Philadelphia, and I picked up a book called The Journey of Self-Discovery by Cyril Prabhupada, who was he started the Krishna consciousness.
So how old were you in 2000? This was before.
I was 20 years old.
So this is before I got my hooks into you.
Right. No, I mean, I had to go back. I mean, I bought this book, and just because we were like in the.
this is old. It's like Walden Books. Back
No,
in
this
the
like
day, real
city,
bookstore.
is that like the city market? Like
Oh, yeah.
It was like a guy sitting there with a bunch of books, like inside a like.
and you picked this
downtown
up. And
Philly.
you're like, it's pretty interesting.
I was like, this looks kind of cool, and so I picked it up then, and
What was the name of it?
It's called The Journey of Self-Discovery.
Okay.
And so I picked that book up, and then had a conversation with my friend's mom, and she gave me a list of 3 other books, and I read about half that book, and then kind of went back and read it a couple other times. I never really finished it until my spiritual journey started, which was 2014. I went back, was like, let's check this out. But the first time I'd ever even considered reincarnation, because I grew up Catholic, right? I die, either go to heaven or hell, period. Game over, boom. And I get that. And some people believe that, and that's fine.
Maybe some purgatory.
Maybe, who knows? You know, who knows? Like, but and I'm not a super religious person either way. I mean, because my my belief, my spirituality includes everything, right? I pray to Christ every day. I pray to Buddha. I pray to Krishna. I pray to, a lot of things. It's a wide spectrum.
Big tent.
It is. It's giant. It's open and roomy for all. I will never, my philosophy.
Eat, pray, love.
Yeah. Well, my philosophy is here. Whatever you believe, great for you. And if your practice includes this, where whatever you do it, and then after you do it, you go back into the world and put some good into the world. Keep doing whatever the fuck that is. Keep doing that. And because I know people who are religious people, and they'll go to church and then they'll leave church and they'll go act like complete assholes to people, complete dicks. And they say, well, I just go back to church and say sorry for it, and I'll just go back. And I don't have time for that kind of religion or spirituality, because I don't believe there's any type of growth. I think that's dogma, and I think that ultimately I believe the one thing that exists that through time and space that I have felt and that I know is a word we use called love. Like, you can't kill love. Like, that travels through time and space. There's no time. You can't. The love that my mom and dad had for me, that will never die. That's not going anywhere. That exists through eternity, through infinity, And so, that love, if you're putting that out into the world, and whatever your practice, religion, spirituality is helping you do that, well, keep fucking doing that, because our world needs more of that. And so that's kind of my philosophy. What I do, I feel through my process and my practices, is that I have a daily practice, a daily routine. It's a discipline, if you will. I call it a practice because I have to do it every day. And so I feel like that gives me the best chance to go out into the world and put some good into it. Do I do it every day? Absolutely not. But I know when I leave my house first thing in the morning, I have a good chance at that being successful, right? And so just in that, I have a successful chance of putting some good into the world. And so that's kind of my philosophy on whether you want to call it spirituality, whether you call it religion. I call it spirituality. It's pretty broad. The best thing that I've acquired to this date is a belief in a higher power. I call it God because I haven't found a shorter word for it. And what's special about my God...
It'd be tough to find a shorter word than God. There's only 3 letters.
I is one, probably the next closest.
Right.
But when I say that word God, there's not another soul in this universe that knows what my mind means, knows what my heart means.
I think we've learned that over the last podcasts.
So for me, like you, I grew up in a Catholic family. So my grandparents, Danny and Augie Ontiveros, would go... They didn't miss a weekend at church, Yeah. My mom, I would venture to say she averaged 2 masses a week. There'd be some weeks she'd go to 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But it was all Sunday no matter what, and then maybe once a week, and then maybe a Saturday thrown in there or whatever.
Right.
And so I had to go to church. I was an altar boy. And then I went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school. But then I had a lot of issues with the Catholic Church as I grew older. But my mom, before she passed away, she made me promise her, because at the time Richie, she helped pick out the school that Richie was going to go to, St. Gabriel, and it was very important for her, for me to send my kids to Catholic school, because she said even if you don't go, then if they go to Catholic school, they'll at least go to mass once a week. They'll have religion class. They'll be exposed to it. They'll get a chance to read the Bible, and that meant everything to her. So I made her that promise before she passed away. And so even when I haven't been able to afford it, I made damn sure that Richie, Phil, and at times it was very tough. And the girls, I'll have all my... I've had a kid at St. Gabe's it'll be 23 straight years next year. So they've gone through, they go to St. Pius. That was important. It was important to my mom, right? I don't go to church very often. And sometimes I'm ashamed of that. But also, I still have a number of issues with the Catholic Church. But I do have I feel a very important relationship with God. and what I believe to be God in Jesus Christ. I pray all the time, and I talk to my kids about it, and I like to listen to them talk about what they're learning in religion class. When I do go to church, it's because one of them, when they're either serving or reading. Richie really doesn't go to church anymore, and I blame me because I wasn't a great example. But he's a man, and he was exposed to the church, and he can make his own choices, right? But I still believe that I have a very good, healthy relationship with the God that I worship, and I pray a lot. And I know that I don't go to church enough, and so I feel guilty about that. But I'm with you.
Well, you shouldn't feel guilty about anything. I mean, listen, you're
right.
That's
being Catholic is
I know
there's a lot of guilt.
I
with
went
being
to
Catholic.
Episcopal church my whole life, which is basically Catholic.
Light.
It's Catholic light. It's they let the priests can get married. They don't have to be celibate. That's the whole Church of England breaking off Henry VIII or whatever the hell way back in the day. Sure. So that's how I grew up, and I went to church almost every week. I was an acolyte, they call it, when you would call it an altar boy. If you were at the Catholic Church, and I did all that, and then listen, it's just not for me. I think I have a very similar philosophy of what Jake has about, listen, what you can do as a human being is just don't harm other people, be good to other people. Whether or not you need to go to church to do that, or whether or not you can just in your whole own life be like, hey, here's the deal. I'm going to try to put good in the world. If I'm nice to people, whether it's called karma or whatever it is, whatever works for you, that's how I live my life. And I didn't make my kids go to church. And, we would go to church on like Christmas Eve and stuff like that. My parents still are very involved in the same church that I grew up in. And, because that's, it's their social place where they do stuff. I just feel like for me, I'm going to be a good dude. I'm going to try not to harm other people. Some people need some more guidance somewhere. But my problem, just in general, when I look at, I don't know about probably the whole world. I don't know, lots of places. A lot of times when you get organized in these things, corruption can happen, and it's. Right. I don't like the outcome of that.
Look,
so I'm just like, that's how I do it. But I don't ever try to tell anyone how to live their life.
I've met.
I told you many times you should save money on school, but I get why
right. No, absolutely. You
do.
also told me to get a 15-year mortgage, and I did.
Hey, you're doing something.
So I follow that.
It's all good.
Yeah, but hey, look, my I've had people in my family try to sit me down and say, "Here, we think you should send the kids to public school," and then right off the bat, it's like, well, see, the thing you said my kids, and so I fucking decide where my kids go to school.
Right.
And then I said I made a promise to my mother, and I'm not breaking that fucking promise. And then I said, well, that's all you need to say. But I've met some of the most wonderful people that I've ever been around that don't go to church, and by the same token, I've met some fucking awful people that go to church every Sunday. And so that's not the definition of whether you're a good or bad person.
All right, so let's get into this a little bit, Jake, because you mentioned routine, and we've talked about this sometimes on the air. What is your routine? You're waking up at what time?
My alarm goes off about, I have a bunch of alarms, but I'm out of bed usually between 2:15 and 2:25.
Right. So you get up then, and
I get up.
You're going to have to work this urine in here somewhere. I don't know if it's going to switch this stuff up, but what do? You just meditation? You run? What is your routine?
So my routine, first thing I do, I set everything up the night before. So I have coffee ready. And so I make a big cup of coffee, and then I have I call it a puja table. It's got a picture of my mom and dad on it. It's got a crucifix on it. It's got a Buddha my grandma gave me on it. It's got a picture of Ram Dass on it. It's got a picture of my grandpa, my uncle who's deceased, my brothers and me as little kids. And it's just kind of
your space.
My space.
By the way, that's super Mexican. That's like, I don't know if you did.
Yeah, you need one of those
super duper Mexican.
It's super Indian too.
But I'm just gonna tell you, like,
I got Hanuman, the monkey god up there.
Right, like that's you described my grandmother.
Yeah.
And the table she would go
and Buddha on there.
But praise to the rosary.
And I burn.
No, I'm talking about pictures of relatives and everything.
No, I burned Apollo Santo. It's a Peruvian.
Would you say this was called puja?
It's a puja table. Is the Indian word for it.
When you say Indian, you're talking about the country.
Hindu Indian. It's Hindi or Hindu. I got a picture of Ram Dass's guru.
So
Maharaji.
this is kind of you mentioned like that's Mexican Catholic, right? That's a lot of those kind of idols you're looking at, or maybe not idols, not the right word, remembrances. But in India, that's Hindu. That's
and then like Buddhists.
Mixed it all up.
Buddhists,
Buddhists
they sit
do
in
it.
front of Buddha. It's all religions really at some form. Catholics go to church, and what's in front of the church? I mean, a crucifix,
a symbol of whatever. Yeah.
Right. And so For me, it's
So you meditate here,
I do, but I have a bunch of daily readings I do. So I have it's
and
kind
those are from
of all kinds
all
of
kinds
stuff,
of
all
scripts.
kinds of stuff.
Same ones or
It's pretty steady. I have it's a 3-part process really. So I do my daily readings. I set my daily intentions, and in my daily readings, there's just like I have a book called Consciousness Awakenings, and it's just like what you should have in your mind during the day. Today was process of perfection, right? We're never gonna be perfect because we're human beings. But if our aim is perfection, we're aiming towards perfection, knowing that we're never gonna be perfect.
so you read these to yourself?
I read these to myself. I say my prayers. I say an Our Father. I say the prayer of St. Francis. I say a Sanskrit prayer. And
then you meditate.
Well, then I set my intentions. I sit quietly and I set my intentions for the day.
There are some threads of Catholicism that are in there.
100%. The first thing before, when I sit down, all right, I have a bandana that my mom used to wear. I tie it around my head. When she got cancer and lost our hair, I tie my bandana around my head. I'll sit there, and the first thing I say as I sit down is, God, open up my mind. God, open up my heart. Reach in and touch my soul so I can be of maximum service to you, God, and to the men, women, and children I go about today.
I'm going to be silly for 1 second.
Yeah.
You didn't hear this Paul McCartney shit during this.
No.
Here we go. This is
No.
okay. See, now you say that, so then that unlocks me to be able to say something without, because I don't talk about this. I may have told you, I may have told you this before, but trust me, I'm out there, right? So speaking of others, okay, and just to give you more background, I believe in heaven and hell, but I believe in other things as well. I do believe that. I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we are contacted by people we love after they've left us, and so you mentioned the bandana, right? So, and this is absolutely true, and it almost sounds too ridiculous for me to talk about, but he said that, so I'll talk about it. So I have a coat rack in my basement. There's like 5 pegs you hang your coat on, right? And so. My mom passed away in 2006, and you guys know how close that was my best friend. And so she had a sweater, kind of a sweater that she would wear all the time. And the night that she passed away overnight, back in October of 2006. And so whenever she got home, she hung her sweater on the last hook, right? And then she passed away, and then I didn't even realize it. Maybe until a week or 2 later, I go, there's the last thing that she took off when she came home and hooked that up. That sweater is still fucking hanging there as we speak. And I've never taken it off. I won't let anyone else take it off, because for a while there was this, you know what? It gives me comfort. It makes me think my mom's still here. And I look at it. I'd come home, because I'd come home, go down to the basement, take my jacket off, hang it up there, and see my mom's sweater, and it would just give me a momentary moment of happiness.
Absolutely.
Okay? And so then, now it sounds crazy because it's 2022, but, a week became a month, became a year. Everyone knew not to touch it, and it's still there. Yeah. And at some point, I would like to, move on from that, but then part of me is like, I don't want to move on from that.
But it's
Ain't
not
hurt nobody.
But I do, and I like when Phil got old enough, and they said, hey, that was there's your grandma's sweater, and we leave it there, and so then to make it make more sense to me and sound more reasonable, I told my family, I said, she passed away in this house, and so she never left this house. She's still in this house, and that's why, because when she'd get home, she'd hang her sweater there, and there it is, so she's still with us. Yeah, and it became symbolic for me to show that she's still with us. And just we've talked about this. Is this something I picked up from you that I give you credit for? And you helped me a lot. Both of you guys did. You were 2 of the most instrumental people in my life after my mom passed away. You told me, and tell me if I'm getting this exactly right, that Denise about giving the present even after her grandmother passed away.
No, her mom.
Her mom.
She would still. Until just a few years ago, every year for Christmas, she would give my kids and our two nephews like a present, from Grandma Doris.
I still do it.
Yeah. So, that because, it was just a way to keep them alive because her mom died in 1996. And my oldest nephew was alive, but just barely. He was like 1 year old. He didn't have any remembrances. And so none of the other kids were alive yet. So like it was just a way because they didn't have the grandma from before.
You told me that, and I thought that was so beautiful. And like I said, at the time, my mom passed away. Richie was 9, Phil was 3. The girls were not born yet. And so that gave me up. So for the next Christmas, I said, hey, look, and I lied. I think I said, because my mom was notorious. She would buy fucking Christmas presents in March.
Oh, you should let
and then hide them, and then fucking forget them. And we'd find like Easter egg hunt. And so I did the first Christmas, because it was in October, I did find some things she'd already bought.
She'd already bought them, yeah.
And so Christmas, hey, this is from Grandma. I found this. I know she bought this for you. Had some stuff for me. Mm-hmm. And so then I just kept doing it. Mm-hmm. And so even in this last Christmas, each kid gets a present from Grandma Babe. That's awesome. To where it's almost,
it's a way to
feels like, I wonder what Grandma got me. I said, why don't you shut up and find out. But it's been something that we all look forward to,
You want a connection.
And I try to buy them something that I think she would have bought them. And it's just something that I got that from you, and I continued it.
It's also a way we keep them alive. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't die until we die. I mean, that's the reality that I've come to understand for me. Like, my mom and dad, I look at my daily life, like, they didn't see me live a very principled life, and they certainly didn't see me being the man that they wanted me to be, right? And so that's part of my statement of purpose. That's part of, like, my amends to them as the son that I was.
And what was the timing of when your mom and dad passed away?
So my mom passed away on New Year's Eve in 2007.
Okay.
So it was about a year and 3 months after your mom passed.
No, it was just a few months after.
No, it was the whole year.
So it was
going into 08.
The day before 08.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. So yeah, and for people that don't know a little bit of a connection there. So when my mom passed away in October of 2006, Jake's mom was at my mom's funeral, and we served Mexican food. And your mom was there, and she was doing everything and serving food to everybody, and going through the line. And so, and we've always kind of had this, I don't know, we've thought that, and he was there, and she was there to help me get through the loss of my mom, and that helped prepare me to be there for him just a year later when you lost your mom, and she was there at my mom's funeral. I'll never forget that.
Oh, I still have the card. It's sitting in my binder that she gave to you. You came and gave me the same card that she'd given to you.
Right. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I have it.
But just I remember the look on her face and everything else. And so, but just there, and so that we've always had that. Mm-hmm. Connection because of the timing of everything. So I'm trying to give people context of what we're talking about.
Well, I think your point is real, Jake, because like when honestly all we have are memories. I mean of people, and if you forget someone, then or if you don't try some way to honor them or live your life the way they wanted you to live it or whatever, then that's when people are bad, and that means the bad things die with them. But when they're good, you don't want the good things to die with them. You want to continue the good things. And that's the hard part. And that's what's been difficult for you. I mean, honestly, we're having real talk here.
Absolutely.
Because then your dad died a few years later, and you were not in a good place in what you were doing with your life.
Yeah, I mean, I was medicating myself with drugs and alcohol big time, especially when my mom got real sick. I mean, because I hated the way I felt, and I knew that if I drank a fifth of Jim Beam, that would instantly change the way I felt.
And you talk about guilt, right? And so when my mom passed away, and she was a devout Catholic, right? But she said that she wanted to be cremated. She'd tell me that all the time. I'd always, can we not talk about that? She goes, listen to me. These are a couple things that you always have to remember. She'd always talk about that. Every kid that you have, I want them to go to Catholic school. Okay, Mom, I will. There's a list of a couple people that are banned from my wake because I don't want them fucking looking down on me, and here they are, right? And one of them was her sister that she hadn't talked to in a year, and so I had to live up to that, and there was almost a brawl at the. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
But then the other one was, I want to be cremated, and I just want to find a place for me in the house and want to stay there, right? And but that's not, you're not, as a Catholic, you're not supposed to do that. And so then afterwards I'm just so torn, like, what do I do here? Because you're not, but she told me, and so then I've got, they're setting up the funeral, and they're, people are advising me against it, and I'm like, but
Yeah.
I had her cremated.
Yep.
Because that's what she wanted.
Yep.
And I've always but then was that
You
honored her. Absolutely.
But it's, the point is, it can,
Yeah.
you have guilt because you don't know what to do. So
Yeah. No, yeah. And then it's like the way I live is that, like, my mom died at 55 and my dad died at 59. And I know that, like, they had a lot of life that they wanted to live. And so how I look at my life is I'm my mother and father's untapped potential. Like that,
Yes.
that's what I am. Because potential is energy unused, right? And so I am my parents' energy. They brought me forth here. And look, I had to do a lot of processing. I've gone to a lot of therapy, and I am at complete peace with both their passings because I have an understanding of just kind of how I look at the world.
It's taken you a long time to get there, though.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it was on my time, right? And I have 2 giant holes in my heart that will never be filled, right? There's not a day I don't go by that I wish I could give him a hug. But like, if a genie gave me a bottle to rub, I would not bring either one of them back. I wouldn't, because it would change the person that I am today. I mean, I literally look at my life and say, I had to be sent over the edge to hit my bottom. And if neither one of my parents passed away, I think who knows, we're playing what if, right? But there would be a good chance that I would have harmed myself or someone else within my drinking structure. I drank and drive a lot, shamefully, like blackout drunk. And I'm talking about hundreds, if not thousands of times. Like I was a danger to society and myself, and I'm not proud about that. But today I don't do that. Right? That's how I fixed that.
you don't drink at all.
No, I don't drink at all. But in how I look at it,
urine
and piss maybe, but I look at it as that, how I have to be, to fill out their potential is that that's how it works.
Well, what you're talking about is what you have found works for you.
Yeah.
And it's hard to put anyone in they try to say, well, you do this and you do this.
There's no one perfect way.
There's no one perfect way to do anything.
And what I was saying is
And
that
it took you a while to find your way. If you didn't find your way, you were going down the wrong,
But I also
the wrong
look,
path.
you
And
guys
had
are
to
both
find something
you guys are
for
both
you.
parents, right? You're both parents.
That's
and
right.
you would give your lives up for any of your children.
Yes.
Without question.
Without question. That's what my parents did for me. They sacrificed on, maybe not sitting here consciously, right? But on a subconscious level, especially my father, because he suffered from the same illness that I have, on some level, they gave up their lives so I could be here, sitting here, a sober man of 7+ years, trying to do my best to help others and be of service, right? Like, they sacrificed themselves so I could have this life. And I truly believe if that wouldn't have happened the way it happened, I might still be drinking. I might just be a really high functioning alcoholic, because there's lots of people that live till.
Well, you were for years.
Right. Oh, I was. Absolutely, I was. Absolutely. And that.
I don't know if high functioning is the correct way to
just,
functioning.
Yeah, functioning. It depends on what day it was.
Okay, so this is the way I want to approach this. I'm going to give you an example of something, and because we did this before, and then I want you to explain this to me, and then we can start to get into the 7 densities.
Sure.
Because I want to try to make it relatable so people can try to understand this. Okay, we talked about this, and so my love of boxing, but it's and people don't understand this. And my kids used to make fun of it. My boys used to make fun of it, the way I would act. But now they understand it more. And especially, like, Richie has really gotten deep into trying to learn more about the Mexican culture, learn more about our family. He's really dug into those things. And so it's been very interesting to watch him.
Don't dig too far.
But that's right. But I wish I would have spent more time. And this is why this is kind of inspired me to interview my dad a lot on this podcast, because I wasted so many opportunities where I could have interviewed my grandparents about coming over to the United States from Mexico, about my mom living through the flood and growing up in Armandale and all these things. And I would just hear stories, but because you're a kid, you think you fucking know more than anything else. And why do I want to talk about this stuff? And I wish I would have documented more things, right? And Richie is doing that with his grandfather, with me. And so, my favorite fighters ever have always been Mexican fighters that I watched with my grandfather, starting with Salvador Sanchez and then Julio Cesar Chavez. And then my favorite fighters of my era, Juan Manuel Marquez.
You like Canelo?
I love Canelo.
He's
But anyway,
to buy a hat.
when Susan and I got married, we went to Vegas, got
So
married,
romantic.
got married my Elvis on Friday night, and then went to the rematch of Marco Antonio Barrera.
Hey, that was not Elvis.
It
He died.
might have been
Eric Morales.
and Eric Morales on Saturday night, right? And so because it was that big of a deal, one of the greatest weekends of my life. But we go through this thing now. You mentioned Canelo, right? He's my favorite athlete. He's my favorite everything. I love Canelo. And so for people that don't know what I'm talking about, Mexican fighters, it's almost like a ritual, almost like a religious experience. When the Grand Mexican Champion, going back to Julio Cesar Chavez, traditionally they fight on the weekend of Cinco de Mayo, and they fight in September on the weekend of Mexican Independence Day. And they walk out with the mariachis and the Mexican flag, and there's certain songs, No Me Sé Dejar by Vicente Fernandez.
R.I.P.
And so that's right. And so then Canelo Alvarez has his song he comes out to from Vicente Fernandez. And some of my greatest memories of a child is watching Julio Cesar Chavez fights, when he'd walk to the ring, watch my grandfather get up with tears in his eyes when they play the Mexican national anthem, just because he's thinking, and he's thinking about and he'd be crying, right? And I'd ask, Grandpa, why are you crying? It's going to be a great fight. And I'm thinking about Mexico. I'm thinking about my homeland. I'm thinking about, my mom. I'm thinking about my grandmother. I'm thinking of, and I was always so touched by that. But I never, man, why, we're getting ready to watch a great fight. Why is he crying? And so now, and it's amazing. Like, say, before a Canelo fight, right? And he's known for his ring walks, and he walks out, and then you hear the music, and then you see the Mexican colors, and I believe this with all my heart, and I feel it. I feel my grandfather and my mom and my grandma. I feel their presence. Like, you feel when someone's in the room, right? Like, you know, like if I'm in the room, if I'm in the room. I've got a strong presence,
I can feel you, yeah.
And scent, but I feel their presence.
Yeah.
Like, I can't talk to them, I can't go put my arm around them, but I feel. That's all I can tell you. I feel his presence, and it gets so emotional. I get overwhelmed, and I start to cry. And it's good. It's not like I'm upset. It's inspiring. It's uplifting. It's a feeling that I can't replicate, and I can't wait until the next. It's such a big deal to me, and that's why I make so much about it.
Density?
Well, so that's what I'm at. So what am I feeling?
You're feeling energy. You're feeling energy from their being, from their soul, right? Because souls don't die.
And it just for a moment, it almost satisfies my tremendous desire to be with them.
It physically affects you. Emotionally?
Absolutely.
Do you ever get chills?
Yes.
I mean, that is...
It goes through my whole body. It's
right.
And I hate to use this term, but it feels like a religious experience.
It is. It's a spiritual experience. It absolutely is a spiritual experience. That's what you're having because you're experiencing their energy. It's just not in the third density. So let's start with that, right? So the first density, we talked about this a little bit last time, right? This planet is
things that aren't alive.
But yeah, so it's like land, air, and water, right?
Matter,
right? And so for 1 billion plus years on this planet, that's all there was magma and rocks and
6,000?
Magma.
6,000. What do you mean?
6,000 years.
Well, no, Stitch.
Inside joke. We won't go.
And I got that one, but I'm not going to elaborate.
No,
Next.
let's not. So that was the first density. This was a one density planet when Earth got here, right? And so that created a second density, right? And so second density is like organic microbiomes, things that we can't see, but they're plants, things that have, I think it's called autonomy and movement. So the first densities being and awareness. So the 7 densities, real quick, they each relate to. So 7's a pretty spiritual number in terms of there's 7 energy chakras. You've heard me talk about the
That's
chakras.
the glasses you're wearing right
Yeah, the
now.
blue. So this is the fifth chakra. It's your throat chakra. It's the color is coordinating with blue. So each density coordinates with a chakra. And
I believe there was an adult film called Throat Chakra.
I got
in trouble for watching that when I was a youngster.
So the first density is your first chakra. It's red, and it's the root chakra. and it's being and awareness. That's like a rock. Everything around on the first density when 3 billion years ago,
long time.
So Earth is roughly 4+ billion years. So for a billion years, stuff's just going on, and within that beingness created the second density. Right. However cells developed.
The beginnings of life.
Right. So let's go back to the very beginning here. Right. So there's 7 densities of consciousness. They correspond with 70 energy seas. So the universe, as we know it, from what I believe, is a mechanism, right, for the one, whatever you think the one is, right, the creator or source energy,
power,
or
whatever
right.
it is.
It's the universe was created for it to experience itself.
So put this in layman's terms. What's the first density? An example of the first density?
A rock.
A rock.
A rock.
Okay. What's the example of the second density?
So an animal, right? An animal would be like a deer. You know, it has movement, or it has movement. You know, but a beginning of the second density would be like a plant. It's got autonomy to movement. It's alive. You know, but,
bacteria.
Right, bacteria. You know, those are second density items, right? And so because there's no like black and white, right? There's like 7. Not going to go too deep into it. So there's 7 densities, but within each density, there's infinite amount of structures. It's like a scale.
And
so
we're on 3.
But what's an example of the third density?
We're experiencing third density. That's what we are.
Because we're like a little more highly evolved.
Well, because we have a choice, right? That's the difference between us and a deer.
Well, you can't be a choice to be a rock, but
No, but I mean, we can make choices. A rock can't make choices.
Yeah, right.
A deer makes choices according
it's alive,
to nature.
but they can't.
We make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
They just react.
They just
instinctual,
react,
right? And so where the second density comes into the third density, an example of that would be like a dog, right? We give a dog a name. We create awareness. We put boundaries up. We show it love. And that dog starts to have an awareness of an identity, right? It'll come when you call its name. So that's like a transition between the second density and into the third density. We can love an animal and give it awareness, and that's when. So all these densities are evolution of consciousness, right?
Okay, I'm following you.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about consciousness. The consciousness in a rock is different than the consciousness in the plant, and different than the consciousness in an animal. And then the shift happens is when humans.
where do we go to 4?
Well, so that's the next density, right? And that's so.
Okay, so I understand this so far.
Yeah.
Okay, I got this. All right.
So the fourth density, right, is our planet shifted to host fourth densities. We saw it slowly happening. Like in the 70s, but it was distinctual, and they put a date on it in 2012.
Who's they?
Well, okay, so
what do you mean it shifted, and who's they? That's right.
Okay, so
Paul McCartney.
A lot of this I get from a channeled work called The Law of One, right? And
what work?
The Law. It's a channeled work.
Channeled work.
Right. So this sixth density consciousness, right, it's like multiple consciousness at a higher plane, right? There are, and this is just a theory, they are what came to Earth 10,000 years ago and what showed the Egyptians and also helped the Egyptians create the pyramids.
Just the Lyrans and all this?
No.
Okay.
No, that's different.
different.
That's a different structure.
So these are beings from somewhere else?
Right. They're
to the Earth?
they're beings in this universe, right?
They're around.
And so there were 6 density beings. They went down to the 4th density, right? And they came and they showed up as light beings. But so how they helped construct, they showed these humans all this technology, and it started getting distorted. So they left because
So when did they leave?
They left. I think they're around for like maybe 1,000 years, like 10,000 years ago. So this is like ancient Egypt times.
And this is a theory that just people have put out there.
Well, so this is the channeled work. So Ra is the consciousness that's channeling through these 3 people. Carla Ruckert was the channeler, and then James Allen McCarty was the scriber, and then Don Elkins was the questioner. Right.
So these 3 people.
These 3 people. And this is 1981. And Donna Carla was her name. So she was able to channel, and so this 6th density, we'll call it Ra, right? This consciousness named Ra channeled through her and started giving her all this information.
So where's Carla now?
Carla's deceased. The only one that's still here is James.
Why did Ra?
Yeah.
Why was he channeling?
How he said is he had such a narrow spectrum, and she was on that spectrum, and so he got in touch with her because because of what they did in Egypt got so distorted. They wanted to make sure the next time that they came down to pass this information on that it wasn't distorted.
When are they doing that?
They already did.
So they did it.
That's what there's 5 books called The Law of One, and it's 106 sessions of channeled work, and it's this lady being channeled into, this guy asking her the questions, and this guy scribing it.
Sounds like hocus pocus to me.
Sure. I get it. But I mean, it's
and you're exploring this. You're not 100% on this yet, or
no. I firmly believe this, and what I've done is I take what resonates with me, because this isn't the only thing that this isn't the only theory that talks about densities, right?
Can you just get these books anywhere?
Yeah, you can.
If I go to Amazon, but Law of One, I can get. Okay,
absolutely.
And so
I have the 40th edition hardbacks.
I'm trying to keep this on a level where people can understand, because this is overwhelming here. And so then
I may be lost right now.
The third density is humans.
Us,
okay,
right.
And so then what's
so the best way
because you jumped to 6, and so then what's 4 and 5?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, so let's summarize the first 3 real quick. So the first is like consciousness sleeps in a rock, right? It dreams in an animal, and then it wakens in a human.
So that makes perfect sense to me. Okay.
It awakens in a human.
So then after that, this is where we
so
get
after
sideways.
that, so the shortest density, the smallest density is ours, and it's also the hardest density because we're given a choice, right? It's choice of service to self or service to others, right?
Free will.
Free will, exactly. But there's not a right and wrong decision. There's just not. The way that Law of One works is everything is part of the source energy, right? Everything came from that. So there's no right or wrong. It's just your choice. That's just your choice for your soul, your individual soul that's traveled billions of years. But how it plays out is that, you're eventually going to have to struggle through that we know people on this third density that are narcissistic, that are mean, that have made that choice, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, to service to self, right? I lived a lot in that, right? But then I had an awakening. And
you can live in both, can't you?
Yeah, but that's the humanness in it. But people who are narcissistic who don't go back and forth. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Well, sure.
There's millions, if not billions, of people that do that. But that's why this planet is a third density planet, because people they reincarnate here to have their soul experiences, to learn from them.
So you die, then you go to the 4th density, or what?
Well, you return there, but you go back into third density eventually. If you don't,
that's the reincarnation part of it.
So pause here for a moment, because this is what brought it up in the last podcast, and so again to try to make it relatable. I told you the story of how I had a very vivid dream where I was with my grandmother and my mother, and I was having lucid conversations with them that I remembered, and it felt so real and so powerful that when I woke up, I felt like I had just been with them, because sometimes, you dream about somebody, but you don't remember any details, right? I remembered everything that I said. It felt like I had just was with them. And then when I woke up, I was so upset because I woke up, and I said, you're not gonna, it feels like, man, I fucking remember everything she said. It made sense. I felt like I just felt like I just got off the phone with my mom, right? And so I told you that, and you said that's real, and you said that's them contacting me on the 4th density.
Yep.
And so then try to explain that. That's the 4th density. Them contacting me in my dreams?
Yes. So look, we have a subconscious that never stops. It's always running. That's what you dream through, right? Right. And that's where remember the first podcast we talked about the pineal gland, right? That's our direct connection to our subconscious.
Because I also dream some fucking horrible things that I don't want to be true, like,
And they're not. I mean, they're not. They're messages. They're to be interpreted.
All of them?
All of them. I mean, it's your subconscious telling you something, right?
Well, I don't know if I want all that. I may not want to hear what my subconscious trying to tell me.
Fair enough.
And the microphone is off.
Right. Yeah.
So this goes back to what we're talking about, having a clean diet, right? So when you're sleeping and dreaming, it's called an astral projection. You're on a different plane. That's the 4th density, right? And the Earth is currently shifting into being able to hold 4th densities. That's the shift that's going on. That's why shit's real fucking crazy right now, because our our planet is changing. The energy. So think about everything that matter has a vibration. All this table has a vibration. We have a vibration. And as you go up the 7 densities, our vibration gets tighter, just like a sound wave, right? And so a rock sound wave, a rock's vibration is real slow, and it doesn't have very much consciousness. And so you go up the line. So the higher the density, the higher level of consciousness and the higher vibration that we have, right? And so on the 4th density, it's higher than we are, but we can reach it because of our subconscious. It's part of us.
And you say the difference between, like, say, me and you is I can't control that. It just happens sometimes in my dreams, but you are able to reach that level while you're awake, and you can control it.
Yes.
You can get to that level. Because, like, obviously, I wanted to go right back to sleep and try to get, and then it didn't
You had
happen.
to do that fucking show, though, didn't you?
Right.
And that's honestly, that's why I practice every day, right? Because right now, my ability is that sometimes it happens to me, and sometimes it
how do you practice that?
Sitting quiet in my mind, opening myself up, telling God, I'm open for any messages you have for me. I'm going to sit here and be quiet, and I'm gonna just quiet my mind.
How long do you sit there?
Every day. I mean, somewhere I set my timer, and it's usually between 15 and 20 minutes. It's just silent. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of stuff is given to me through when I run. You asked me why I run so much.
Right.
I'll tell you about a real fucked up story. And this is an example of me being on the 4th density, why I'm here, right? So this was back in 2018. And then I'll go back and I'll tell you the first time this ever happened to me, which was when I was in Maui, which is blew me the fuck away. It still does sometimes. But this is a situation where I was running. It was August, and so it's hot as fuck. And so I was waiting till late at night because it was literally like 100, 105. So I'm running, and all of a sudden, while I'm running, and so I've since learned that I have clairsentience, which means I can sense stuff through my smell that isn't like I smell things that other people don't smell.
Like a hound.
Somewhat, but it's on a different density level, right? And so I'm running, and it's the middle of the summer in August. It's probably at night 95 or 100 degrees, hot as fuck. And all of a sudden, all I can smell is campfire. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, who the fuck is outside burning something, right? I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it was like strong as I'm running. It's like I'm running. It's like this is awful. Like I'm trying to run away from, it, but it's here. It's in, and then I'm reached out, and my father contacts me, right? My dad, son. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I just go with it, and I have this conversation with my father
Out loud?
Out loud.
You're running.
I'm running, talking to my dad.
Mm-hmm. So, but what was the smell?
It was the campfire, and so my father would take us camping all the time. We'd go fishing, on the fishing trips, and he always he loved cooking over a campfire. And so like that was his way of getting my attention.
So does the conversation end when you ended, or does it just go away and you can't control it?
Well, so this was what the fucked up thing was, because message wasn't for me, right?
Right.
He's like, you need to go tell your brother this. And he was telling me shit.
Big bro, little bro.
Little bro.
Mm-hmm.
Telling me shit that I had no idea, right? And so I get done from this run, and I literally think I'm fucking crazy. Like, this shit just happened to me. Like, I've taken a lot of drugs in my life, Steven, a lot. And I'm thinking, like, is this a fucking fly? Because I've eaten a lot of LSD in my life, a lot of mushrooms. I've done a lot of psychedelics.
Go on.
And I'm sitting there thinking, is this a flashback of some type? And I'm just like, I'm like, whatever. He told me to fucking tell Derek this, so I got to call my brother and tell him, so.
Did you wait till he was awake? Because this was early in the morning, right?
No, this is late at night because I was running at night.
Yeah.
So he's out in California, and so it was like 10 o'clock at night here, and so it was like 8 o'clock there. And so I pick up the phone, and then I said, you have some time because I need to tell you some stuff.
I got a fucking story for you, bro.
So then like,
so what
did it make sense?
It moved him to absolute tears, and he said, "What the fuck?"
But there's no way you would have known what to tell him.
No,
and so
he's like, so he had like, holy fuck, are you like what the fuck? How do you know? Like, this is only between me and like.
So now did that cause him to believe you?
Yeah, I mean, we have all kinds of conversations about shit, and like, yeah, he has his life, and I have mine, but there's things he'll bring to me, and I'll kind of decipher, and he's growing he's on his journey,
Okay.
Right? And this isn't for everybody. Like what I learned, to circle back, I told you about that book, Journey of Self-Discovery, right? And 2000. And then my friend's mom gave me 3 books, right? And the most impactful book I've ever read.
Or 2 of those goosebumps from the.
No. You Own the Power, right? Is one by Rosemary Alty.
You own the power.
You Own the Power. And this woman she's British and she's a medium. And that's where we go back to my mediumship. This book explained to me that everybody has that ability. And it's something
you got to try to
you
unlock
can
it.
work on it and practice it. And some people are way up the spectrum. They don't have to try real hard and they're born with it. But some of those people can't. They struggle through real life, right? But it resides within all of us. It's a power inside of us. It's our soul. It's our contact to source. And so I read this book, You Own the Power. And that's when, that was 2014 when I was starting to get sober and looking for who am I ultimately? What am I about? Who do I want to be? Because I get sober and I think my sobriety is just about not drinking. And it turns out that alcohol is not really my problem. I'm a selfish asshole and that's my problem. And I learned that the hard way.
But maybe alcohol was kind of your problem.
No, alcohol was my answer.
It's
It
best
wasn't
not
my
to do it.
problem.
Yeah.
That was my solution.
That's the wrong answer.
And I took the solution away and then it was just me.
Okay, so can you reach out and contact someone specifically, or do you have to wait for them to contact you?
Right now, the only experiences I've had are really with people I've had contact with here. My mother and my father are quite present.
What happened in Maui?
So this is the first time that it wasn't my mother or father, and it was a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine who passed away in May of 2017. We'll just, for his family's sake and for my sake,
Right.
We'll just call him Jay, right? So my buddy Jay, he decided, he struggled with depression. He struggled with a lot of the same things I did. Growing up, he was really close to my mom. I mean, there was a situation when we were in high school where he lived like 5 minutes away from me, and his mom and my mom were really good friends. And they're like, we were sophomores in high school, and my mom just said, "Jake, get in the car. We gotta go to Jeff's." And he was in a bad situation. He locked himself in the room. His mom didn't know what to do. Called my mom. My mom knocked on the door and said, "Hey, Jeff, can I come in there?" He let her in for some reason. 30 minutes later, she comes out and she's like, "You need to go talk to your friend." And then she went and talked to his mom, and he, he had some issues. He had some really bad demons. And so he passed away in May of 2017. And so I go to Maui May of 2018. And this was kind of this is kind of my first out of the body experience, I'll call it. And so this is I went to go see meet Ram Dass. At this point in time, he was an influential spiritual guide for me. His teachings still are very impactful for me. Absolute hero. I used to call him my guru. I don't believe in gurus anymore.
And he has since passed away.
He passed away December 2019. So I met him, had an unbelievable experience with him. And in about August of 2017, I started doing my hospice work. And that's where, he started talking about that. I started doing work with people who mostly
End of life.
terminal cancer, mostly just because of my experience with both my parents. And I found out that I had a profound ability to sit with people who are transitioning and not see them in their sickness, look past their sickness and look at them soul to soul, so to speak. And, and people I've had profound experiences with those people, where they'll be like, "Wow, you're sitting here, you're not treating me different like everybody else who walks that door." And I just sit there, and some people are open to come out and play, and some people want to be left alone. And that's not me. That's my higher power, and I just go do the work of God through this vessel, right? So fast forward, this in May of Maui 2018, I'm at this meditation / it's the foremost authorities on passing, right? A man named Frank Ostaseski, who started the first Buddhist hospice in the United States in San Francisco in 1996. And I went and studied under him later in that year. So they're doing it's like basically we have I don't want to call it a workshop, but they're like lectures, so to speak, right? And almost every lecture at the end of it or some point in time of it, there's a meditation of some sort in it. And so I was like front and center for every lecture except for this lecture. And it was Frank Ostaseski, and he wrote a book called The Five. It'll come to me later. It's not important right
You
now.
had skipped class.
I didn't skip class. I just running late. And so
Okay.
I come into the hall, and like it's packed, and I was pissed. And like there was like one seat left, and it was next to this really attractive woman. And I was like, "Oh, mind if I sit here?"
Well, okay.
Yeah, no, this worked out nice.
Well, all right.
So I'm sitting here, and Frank's giving his lecture, and then we sit down and we do this meditation. And so I start to get into this meditation. And then within like 2 minutes of this meditation, and let me back up just a little bit. When I first walked into the resort, right? Like, I don't even know if there's bald eagles on the island of Maui, but I saw a fucking bald eagle, and it flew over me like above, and I just immediately felt the presence of my friend Jay. Like, whew. And because it was about a year from the time he passed. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. Like,
Was there any significance to it being a bald eagle, or?
no, I mean, yes, you'll find that out here as I finish this story. Yes, I thought yes.
Was it named Eagly by any chance?
No, it was not named Eagle.
You have to watch Peacemaker to get that
Peacemaker,
joke. Starring
Eagly.
John Cena on HBO. It's very good.
Give me a hug.
Right.
So, yeah. So I'm sitting down in this meditation. I'm sitting next to this woman, and I get into this meditation, and all of a sudden I'm cracked out of my body, and I'm with my friend Jay.
What? How did you just?
Out of my body.
Okay.
I'm out of my body, and I am in my father's hospital room, and we're sitting above, and it's the fucking room, and I'm fucking there, right? And I'm sitting with him, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And he wouldn't say anything to me. He'd just go like this, right?
Jay was saying no?
Yeah,
Okay.
just like.
Again, I'm honest question. Were you weren't under the influence of
Nothing,
any type
nothing.
of hallucinogen?
No
or anything
drugs.
else?
No drugs.
But while this is happening, are you like, what the fuck?
Yes, big time what the fuck.
But you're meditating.
Right.
Okay,
And I'm not though. I'm like time and space.
But you didn't get up and go anywhere. You were.
Your body was in Hawaii.
I'm
class.
in Hawaii in this fucking lecture hall, and I am in my father's hospital room in the corner of the room up above, and I'm seeing a replay, right? Just
Like Christmas Carol, Ebenezer Scrooge.
exactly
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Exactly like that. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I don't remember my words verbatim, but they were like, "What the fuck?" And he just look at me like this and point, and so I start paying attention to what's going on. And I'm telling you, like, this hospital room, identical, like it is the fucking room,
Right.
And so there's up until this point, there's like something that was really, and it still is really hard for me.
Right.
And the night before my father passed, he had come to this realization that he wasn't going to make it, right? And the doctor was in there, and like nothing's working, and he made everybody Jake, get everybody out of here, and everybody I told everybody to leave, and I was sitting on the bed with him, and he has an oxygen mask on, and he's looking at me, and he's clearly upset. He's got tears on his face, and he pulled his oxygen mask up, and he says to me, "I'm not going to make it. I'm going to die."
Right.
And for my whole life, and to this moment, I had no idea what I said to him in that moment. No idea.
Because this was when you were
Yeah, I was
medicated.
Yes.
Yes.
I couldn't. I mean, I was sick myself, but I was.
blotto.
Yeah, but I was doing my best.
Mm-hmm.
But that moment caused me a lot of pain post that moment.
Because you couldn't remember
didn't
what
know
you
what
said
to
to
say.
him.
No fucking idea.
You were out of your mind.
I mean, so to speak, but I also was. I've come to since understand that that's trauma too.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Like
for
I
sure.
wasn't like blackout drunk in the moment, but I mean, my daily life was come here,
You were not mentally
go
healthy.
to arts, go to the hospital, and this was like a 4-week period. Go home and get hammered,
Right.
and repeat every day. Come to work, go to arts, and which is a company my dad owned, and he wasn't there, so I'd have to go get all of his work, take it to the hospital. We'd go through his work, and then go home and I'd medicate. And so through that process of 4 straight weeks, I mean, I did
You
a lot.
were in a bad way.
I was, and I do a lot of drinking over it because I had a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, and
So you didn't remember what happened, but when you had this out-of-body experience, you remember what you said?
well, he shows me, and so I got to see what my answer to my father.
So you were able to
was.
hear it and see it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
saw it all replayed, and my answer was like, "It's okay, Dad. It's gonna be okay because we all die." That's what happens.
But so then when you saw that, I know you're seeing it, but then you think, that is what I said.
Yeah.
Why do you think?
No, I knew it was fact. Like,
Why
that
do
was
you think
true.
your friend was there with you?
Because because I have contact with him. Like, that's like, he's one of my guys.
He's helping you.
And he knew that bothered you, and he had the opportunity.
Yeah,
to
and
do
like
that.
in I've seen a lot with him since, and we've had past lives together since.
Okay, so before I lose them, because I got two things in my head, so I'm going to ask you what these are. Okay, so my experience that caused me all this guilt, and again, hey, I've had a lot of fucking issues. I did a podcast about me, and my mental health issues and battling depression and everything else. I did that a few months ago. People understood that and watched that and took that for what it was. But so the day before my mom passed away, we got into it, and me and my mom, she's like my best friend, but we were always around. That was my, she was single. She was never going to get remarried after my dad and her divorce. And when I met Susan, she knew, like, hey, my mom comes with me. That's I take care of my mom. And so we were always together. And we would fight sometimes and just say, just terrible. But we'd always make up, right? We got into it the day before she passed away. She passed away on a Sunday morning. She passed away the day that the Chiefs played the Steelers and when Larry Johnson yanked
pulled the hair.
Troy Polamalu by his hair. And so
it was a really good game.
Brad was not. And so the day before, on Saturday, we had, or the Friday night, we had got into it about something. And then Saturday, she was mad and she went to a women's conference and she was gone all day. And then I was doing my thing or whatever. And then she came home and I knew enough to where my mom, I had been told since I was fucking 12 years old, your mom could die at any time because she had COPD, she had horrible asthma, she'd had all these health issues that had haunted her. And she lived, I maintain that me having sons extended her life.
Absolutely.
And gave her reason to live.
100%.
So
that's fact.
We got into a fight, and then I remember I was shocking watching a fight Saturday night, and I was waiting. I was really tired, but I was fighting sleep with because I wanted to see her, and she was staying gone because I knew she was mad. But I always had this thing why we can't go to bed mad, because I had this fear that my mom would pass away in the night. That's when she had really bad breathing problems. And so I remember, but it was different. It was almost like a desperation. I have to talk to my mom before we go to sleep. And so then finally I hear her come home. She comes home and I go up there and I talk to her. And she was still kind of cold to me. She's like, I'm fine. I go, Mom, I'm sorry. I overreacted. You always said, don't go to bed, man. I love you. Okay? I said, there's food in here, left over. And we talked. And it was okay, but she was still kind of cold to me. I said, listen, I apologize. It's my fault. I love you. I was like, it was weird that and I even Susan goes, just leave her alone. You're why are you?
Don't pester your mother.
Right. I go, and so then we wake up the next morning and she had passed. And so I always had a tremendous amount of guilt that I feel like I didn't make up with her properly, and she was still mad. And why did I fucking have a fight with her that day?
You did something.
Oh, I did, but I didn't connect with her. Because I could always tell. Then she'd smile. She goes, "Oh, honey, I'm not mad anymore." But she was still. I still feel like she was still pissed off at me, and that fucking haunts me, right? And so that's one thing that's kind of similar. And I've always. But then I go, was she mad at me? And I replay it over and fucking over to where I've driven myself crazy about it. What did I say? What was the last thing I said to her? I told her I loved her, right? Nothing was good. I told her it was my fault. What did I say to her? I just vicious cycle in my head, right? And so that's one. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about. And so the first time, and I promise you this is true. So I played two songs at her funeral. One was she loved Moody Blue by Elvis. She said that song was about her and explained her. And I didn't really kind of realize that and understand that until after she passed away. The other one was Babe by Styx. Her nickname was Babe.
Yeah.
And she loved that song, and she always said, it sounded like they were singing to her. And so the girls never met my mom, but one of them is named after her, the other one looks like her. And so the first time I was gonna get a chance to take all four kids trick-or-treating. My mom loved Halloween. She would make all of my costumes when I was a kid. She loved dress up and everything else. Even the time when she made me dress as a female witch when I was 5, and I was mercilessly criticized and made fun of by
A
my
little
cousin,
chubby
right?
witch?
No, I was a skinny little boy. I didn't put on. I started putting on weight until college. I was very lean and sinewy.
I've seen some
And
pictures
so-
of you that you weren't all that
I had a
lean.
fat face.
Okay.
And so,
Picture you and Duran Cherry at Arrowhead. You ain't all that
right.
skinny there.
Oh, I look good. I look good. Then. I weighed about 130 with my hair. Weighed about 160 because it was a big, almost a pompadour. And so, I never forget this. We're driving in the car. We're driving to my dad's house because we're going to take the kids. It's the first time. I can't remember how the girls, but this is the first time you're going to be able to dress up and walk, and we're going to
So like 4 years old.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4. Yeah, first, and I can't wait.
So yeah,
and I told my Susan, I said, "Fuck, man, I wish my mom was here." You know, because this is what she right.
It's Super Bowl right here.
And because this is it. She would have been, I shit you not. We're driving to my dad's, and it's a radio station. It wasn't satellite. It's just we're listening. I don't know. The mix night. No, it would have been oldies or something. We were listening to. Fucking song comes on. Sticks, Babe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just start fucking crying.
Yeah.
And I had to pull the car. I go, Susan, tell me this is a fucking coincidence. Tell me I'm fucking crazy.
No.
I was just talking about this, and this fucking song came on. And then, of course, I get over to my dad.
No, that's your mom.
So then what's that?
That's your mom.
Well, there was we had a
That's
similar,
your absolute mom.
right. But
also, here's something else, because we talk about sixth sense, right?
But you tell people that, that's just a fucking coincidence.
No,
Like,
it's
how
not.
can that
It's
be?
not.
Of all the
It's
fucking
not.
songs, and we were all in the car
Yep,
together.
It's not. And I guarantee you, your mom came to your kids, and your kids saw her. I mean, and felt her and experienced her. I promise you that, because until we learn, like that sense, like kids, just like your mom had that conversation with you in your dream, because that's the only way she can get a hold of you right now because of how programmed our minds are. But when we're little kids, we don't have a programmed mind. And so we can see that stuff that's on the fourth density. We can experience it because we haven't been programmed yet. Our minds are just computers. That's all they are. And so, my brother has some just whack out crazy experiences with my nephew as a little kid. He never knew that my dad was called Papa Bob. He never knew what Papa Bob looked like. But then all of a sudden he sees a picture and goes, Papa Bob? Like, my brother's like, you've never heard that ever before. What the fuck? Like,
right.
Like as kids, we are entities that are pure. We are pure entities.
not corrupted yet.
Right.
By whatever. When I say corrupt, it's not bad. Just
Programmed.
Programmed
Programmed
whatever
into
you want.
society. And that's a fact. So we don't have those programs built in. So we're pure. We're in the moment. We're present. We're not thinking about what am I doing next week? What happened last week? We're present. We're in the moment, and we're pure human beings, the way God intended us to be. And that's washed out of us. That's our sixth sense. That's the movie that talk, I see dead people. Well, because we're pure, we're innocent, and we have that ability all in us. That's you own the power, right? We all have that power in us. And so, yes, that's your mom. Yes, that's how she has to. Sometimes it has to be so fucking obvious, and it smacks us across our head, and we'll talk ourselves out of it. But it's so obvious.
But that's why I said, how can this be a fucking coincidence?
It's not.
When, the night
It's
my,
supernatural. It's spiritual. It's a spiritual experience.
I think most things are coincidences. That's me. My mind's not open enough yet.
Yeah,
Maybe I
that's
don't want it to
fine.
be open.
But most people are conditioned. That's what we're conditioned. We're forced to like as kids we believe all these things.
I will
but
tell
society
you,
and fucking forces us to fucking let go of that.
The struggle of life does.
The night my wife's mother passed away, she died of breast cancer in 1996. And we were at the hospital for a couple hours afterwards, and we came home, and I had a sweet stereo system with a 5-disc changer.
Yeah, boy.
And
That's
so,
good shit.
This was before iPods.
Carousel or cartridge?
It was a carousel.
Remember mine? I had mine in my trunk in my
Yep.
Buick Park Avenue. Yeah.
When we got home, this was a carousel JVC thing, I think. And so you could just hit random on it. So it would just go from song to song
Shuffle.
or whatever. So there were 5 CDs in there, whatever was just in there. And the first fucking song it played was Stairway to Heaven. Now, that's only a 1 in 60 chance or whatever. It's not like
Less
any
than
song
that.
that's on the radio.
Right.
But still, I mean, it could have easily played whatever else was in that thing. And it was just really kind of weird that happened. Maybe it was some message from somewhere, or maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. This has been very heavy. I'm gonna make one joke. Is that okay?
Here we fucking go.
That story's not over yet.
What?
Here's can you go fucking find out with your buddy Jay and watch this fucking wreck with Paul McCartney? I want to see.
No, that's a good question. Can you like seek out specific information?
I mean, no, not at this point yet. Like that's what I'm saying.
Maybe someday.
I'm practicing, right? Okay. I'm working on it, and so
that's not a bad question, you know.
No, yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so like, I'm just letting you. We have like
it wasn't very personal.
Ben, we have like 5 minutes left.
Okay, so I'll wrap it up.
No,
real quick.
take this, wrap it up, and also because we're not. This is not the whole thing. We're not.
No, yeah,
this,
we're only on the.
Guess what? This is going to be part 3 coming up.
Yeah, that's fine.
So wrap it up the way you want to in these 5 minutes.
So real quick, I'll just finish the story of Maui, right? And so, because I see this and I'm fucking moved. I'm like, holy shit! And then all of a sudden, I'm crying, right? I'm crying, and then all of a sudden, I'm just snapped back, and I'm back in my body. And
do you feel something? Did you feel like it's or just?
I mean, there's just like
or just like waking up.
It's like waking up. And so I don't know if I just fell asleep and had a dream. I don't know if I like literally that's my initial thought. I was like, I just fell asleep.
But you didn't move at all. You were still in the same position.
Right.
Okay.
Same position. And I fucking have tears going to my face. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I felt like again, like 2018, like I was crazy, like when my dad talked, but this,
Right.
So this was May before that even happened. Right. And so I'm like, what the fuck? And this lady sitting next to me, I still talk to her, Tiffany. And Tiffany looks over and she like fucking just like appalled. And she just taps me. She goes, can I talk to you when this is done? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Right.
What are you thinking? Like, whoa, what did I fucking say when I was out?
I'm like, I hope I didn't do anything.
Yeah. What did I do?
Right.
I've been known to do things I don't remember.
Right. Absolutely. So everybody leaves and we're just sitting there and she's like, I have to ask you what you just experienced. And I was like, why? Like I'm not even sure I know what I just experienced. She goes, well, I'm a medium, and I've been doing a lot of work, and I looked over at you during this meditation, and all I saw was a giant head of an eagle, and it freaked me the fuck out. And I closed my eyes right back up. I closed my eyes right back up, and I was like,
was that eagle-y?
How did she not fucking see that and run the fuck out of that room?
Because she's a medium and she's been doing a lot of work.
She's used to that.
Well, yeah, it freaked her out. She closed her eyes instantly and was like, oh my God, I'm going crazy.
So I'm just being honest with you. If I look over and see a giant head, I'm fucking gone. Right. I'm jumping off that fucking
right. And so it freaked her out to scared the shit out of her. And she's like, I closed my eyes. I wanted to ignore it. I prayed for it to go away, and I looked back over, and you were still there. And then all of a sudden, I felt what I call eagle energy, the presence of eagle energy. And she's like, I got to know what the fuck was going on.
And then you told her.
And I told her the story, and we talked about it. She's like, that's your friend. He's your eagle energy. He's your eagle energy.
Okay, so are you a medium?
Yes, I am.
You used to be a 4X.
Right. Yeah. You've done well.
5X after I ate that steak.
Like you are or you're working towards becoming.
I call it a mediumship. I'm working on my mediumship. Yeah, I mean, I have experience.
How do you know when you're done? Like when you're never. Or you're
done.
never. You're always.
I mean, it's just like the Buddha talked about enlightenment. Like you don't just all of a sudden become enlightened, right? It's like it's a lifelong experience. Like, and so it's like it's a skill and it's something that you harness, but it's like also it's like I could tell you all kinds of stories, like some fucked up shit. Like, I mean, I have them, and they happen often.
Well, yeah, leave some for the next
already,
episode.
so.
I mean, I could tell you, like, no, I mean, there's messages I'm given on a somewhat regular basis.
Like about what?
Are the Chiefs going to cover the spread Sunday?
I wish I could. I'm trying to figure out that fucking.
There's no bit like messages that only pertaining to you or about the world or about
just
other
about
people.
My direction and what's going on in my life.
Okay, so here's an honest question. So, like, say if you got some kind of message about Todd or about me or someone you're close to,
mm-hmm.
do you go and tell that person, or do you have to keep that to yourself, or do you? Because that's not something that's very easy to tell. So, like, if you got a message about
it was
me,
hard, like with my brother, I mean, that was super fucking hard to deal with and tell. You know, like tell him like hey, Dad, in this specific instance,
right. But that's your brother,
right?
So
right. No, and
I
haven't come across that yet. And also like this channeling shit that this lady did, I'm not interested in that. Like, I'm not interested in entities coming into me.
Well, like if someone, my mom said, you go tell my son to quit with this fucking shit. Or like, would you?
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't try to channel your mom, so I don't know.
But could she, like, if my point is, if she was trying to contact me
And says, quit buying Canelo stuff.
right, right, or or you stop with these fucking credit cards. But I mean, would she? Like, do you think she knows that you are a medium, and maybe that's the way she can get to me because your dad knew to.
Yeah, I mean,
you see what I'm saying though?
Possibly, yeah, I mean, but like, I feel like that channel was open when I had that experience in May with my dad, and that led to that. Like the first time anything like I started believing in any of this, I was before I even got sober, right? So I actually left this building early because my dad was in a real fucked up situation, and it freaked me the fuck out. So my dad, with stage 4 cancer, got put into a room at KU Med with somebody who had a bacterial infection, a really bad one. Trying to think of the name of it, but it was a really bad. And so one of my mom's best friend, who is in the medical field, went to go visit my dad at the hospital. And when she was in the room, she's
like, "What are you doing in this room with this guy?"
Yeah, she's like, I tried to get him out, but they have to deal with the family member. And I don't know what you're doing. You need to get down to this fucking hospital, and you need to get him out of this room. I don't know how. Like, you need to fucking stop whatever you're doing and fucking get down here. And so I called Drake, said, "Hey, I gotta go." And like, I'm freaked the fuck out driving down to KU Med, and I just start praying my ass off, like asking my mom for help. Just asking my mom for help. I don't know how I'm gonna fucking do this, Mom. Like, I need your fucking help.
Right.
Like, please help me. Right. And so I go down there and I kind of black out, honestly. And I somehow managed to convince these fucking people at the hospital to get my dad the fuck out of that room and get him over into the cancer ward and get him into his own giant room by himself. And I kind of come to after this all, and my dad just is like, "Great job, son. Great job."
But you don't remember what you said.
I don't fucking have a slightest idea what I said to the fucking doctors.
Did you ever ask him afterwards? Like, what?
No, because he was just.
What did you think of what I said? Here?
He was just like Mrs. B said, "I need to get out of here. Get me out of here."
Right.
I said, "I got you, Pop."
And so whatever it is you said, but you don't remember.
No, I don't remember.
So you believe it was your mom speaking through you?
Absolutely. And so like that was like when that was my first like, okay, like there's something going on in this universe that's beyond me, that's more powerful than me, that I somehow just got in touch with, because I don't know how the fuck I just did that.
So unfortunately, we are out of time for this episode. Leave it with we'll continue this eventually.
Sure.
How do you want to leave this to where we can?
I mean, look, some people are gonna think I'm crazy. Some people are it's gonna pique their interest,
because we're only up to the
fourth density.
Fourth density.
Right,
we got other densities.
Yeah, I mean,
this one goes to 11.
I think there's 7 and then there's octaves, and I think one more episode we could probably wrap this up.
Well, what I told you before off the air about this is, like, I'm not going to tell you you're crazy about this shit, because you're living your life, man. Whatever you've gone through is what you've gone through. If you believe what you've gone through, you do it. And also, but this Paul McCartney is bullshit.
And part of it is this: like, for me, I desperately want to believe this.
Sure.
I think you have to want to believe. Some people resist it. You probably resist it for a while. Whatever you get.
So what I would say to somebody.
For me, I want to.
So what I say to you is
I'm willing to jump through the hoops to make
What you have to do is what I did is find what resonates with you and feels like this is true. How do I know it's true? I don't know, because of what I feel in my stomach.
You need to stop hitting snooze, motherfucker. Get up at 2:15 in the morning.
Some people, everybody. No, because some people will. This is the way
the truest thing Jake ever said is it's not for everybody.
But the two for people that different approaches. Some people will approach it, I think, like Todd, and look for ways to poke holes in it. I'm just telling you.
Being open.
For me, I'm looking for ways to believe it.
So find, like, so when I'm talking about, like, that book, You Own the Power, pick it up and see if it resonates.
Tell me again what it is.
You Own the Power by Rosemary Alty.
So okay, if somebody
do they have an audio book for Stephen?
Probably,
He's not strong reader.
Jerk off. So listen. So you mentioned a lot of books. If there's one book that someone's going to start off with to try to
that would be it. Absolutely.
What is it? Say it again.
You Own the Power by Rosemary Alty.
Start with that.
I would say that. There's 3 books that woman put on the list, and I went back to that list, and so those 3 books are The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, and You Own the Power by Rosemary Alty. Those 3 books were revolutionary for me. Right? But I didn't find those books until I found that one book called Journey of Self-Discovery. journey of self-discovery.
You owns the power.
Also, recommend The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, which is a
The
tremendous
National.
story
Good
of
job.
Gatsby.
Stay gold, man.
No, so
place
that's
in
why I say,
Oklahoma.
like, find out what your truth is, because it's different than mine, and yours is different than his, and we're all
I think
our
mine is
souls
different than yours.
our
That's
souls
fine.
are all unique. There's no two souls in this universe that are
We're like
like
snowflakes.
we are.
So until next time, we'll pick this up and we'll go into. So we've made 4 densities. We'll go into the 5th, 6th, and 7th. There's a lot to unpack here, but again, to be continued. That's Jake Gutierrez. That's asshole Todd Lebo.
Yeah.
My name is Stephen St. John. Until next time, the microphone is off.